Off to the Valley is off to the holidays. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special year end episode of Off to the Valley. I'm your host, Prateek Panda, and before we wrap up the year, we're taking a moment to hit pause and look back on a season that crossed borders, broke patterns, and reminded us why we started. This season, we met founders who crossed borders, built from scratch, and turned uncertainty into opportunity. From Peter Loving's design truths for SaaS founders to Tara Sakhuja's leap from Meta into her own AI startup, to Bob Moesta's mission to fix why most people hate their jobs. Every story was raw, real, and filled with lessons worth remembering. We explored the AI shift no one saw coming with Gorish Agarwal, the power of self-belief with Nino Melikids, and the promise of a better future with Sophie Alcorn's call for a smarter US immigration. So as the lights dim and the mics take a breather, let's revisit some of the most unforgettable moments from season 2. The stories, the insights, and sparks of courage that made this year truly special. Let's dive in.
Think about design as early as you can afford to. And also when you do think about design, think about it from the context of making life easier for the user, designing for them what will be a good experience for them. We want to really give them a great experience with the product.
When you're a founder, it feels like you're only juggling glass balls and you can't drop anything. You also have way more balls in the air. What's keeping me sane through this is I've actually tried to reduce the number of things I'm doing at the same time and bring in that ruthless prioritization to say, okay, it's actually hurting me not to work on something right now. But if I work on this, it's likely if I drop the ball on it, I may not be able to come back from that. So I need to park it for later.
Good growth investors or good venture capital investors are not buying growth for the sake of growth. It is growth that will eventually lead to a profitable ROI positive business. You don't have to be profitable today. It's actually possible to be profit negative, but ROI positive. And that's what good growth investors focus on.
Don't develop your definition of success based on somebody else's story. Be flexible. There's enough for everyone. There is enough opportunity. There is enough innovation, creation, space, funding, money, all of that for everyone. So take that definition of success and be flexible with it. Secondly, find a network of the kind of people that you're trying to become. You cannot be an entrepreneur if you're not surrounded by entrepreneurs.
You are not your startup. And two is your startup success or failure is not just about you, right? It's about so many other things. And therefore being much more open to saying like, hey, this is a playground. There are many things that are going to impact how this playground pans out.
Most people are spending 90% of their time doing work they hate for the 10% of the work they love. And if we can just change that ratio to like 50-50, you don't even know you're working anymore.
Pick an area and learn the ins and outs of that area as opposed to dwelling too much over what area to pick up. Especially if you're super young in our career. When I started out, sales tech was new to me. But I spoke with 500 sellers, direct B2B sellers, and probably another 500 other GTA folks, just to get a sense of what B2B sales is. And I think people need to do more of that.
One of the things that I learned was not being afraid to pivot fast. I mean, if you think you need to try something and experiment, do like a sprint to just see if that works or doesn't work, because not everybody's actually paying attention to every switch you're making in your company. So do a couple of those sprints, and the sooner you get that response from the market or that signal, you know that you're either on the right track or not.
It is really hard to make your first $1 million. It is really easy to make your second million. The general idea there is when you're making your first million, you're still in survival mode. Once you're out of that and you're making your second million, you're using your money to make more money. And that becomes so much easier. Yes, it's risky, but you're not in survival mode anymore if you're smart and strategic with how you do it.
In the last, 10-15 years, you would know this better than anyone that buying cycles have changed. The battle for pipeline has to happen before someone actually becomes pipeline, when their dollars are not up for grabs, right? That's where their mind share is up for grabs. That's the term we use. And video, all marketers know, you are a living example of that, is the best way to get mind share.
Most companies probably they need to listen to customers, but if you would just implement what people are saying, then you would build the worst product for sure. It's more about having that insight at what is the problem that I want to solve, and then listening to feedback and then creating your version of how to solve that problem.
For most people, they can always go back home and you can always go back to what is known and comfortable for you. But again, did you immigrate for the known and comfortable, or did you immigrate for a new experience, to challenge yourself, to try something new?
I personally think as a new entrepreneur, focus on your personal brand, because a lot of people reached out to me when I announced I'm doing that on LinkedIn. They were like, oh, I didn't know you started something of your own, would love to collaborate with you. So it's very important to focus on your own personal brand, and whether it's for finding the new job or starting your own business, it's very, very important.
If you're pragmatic and raise the right amount of capital and build in a capital efficient way, you can have incredible successes selling your company for 10 million, 20 million, 50 million. There's many different paths you can take. So I think giving ourselves the room to run in whatever direction we wanted, I think that's what we wanted to go.
In order to validate the idea, traditional way is lean startup and getting users sign up is true for certain businesses, but for most, there should be a way to monetize it, to test the real traction before spending a lot of money on building. So that's what I learned previously, and I'm using it on Pixie. So we are actually pre-product. If we think about it, we only have a website, but we do have revenue.
And somewhere in the process, there should be a human in the loop circuit breaker that steps in and stops the AI processes and checks it, augments it, and makes sure that everything is on track. And that also creates a reinforcement loop so that the AI can learn from human judgment and experience.
I always talk about the journal of awesomeness. So it's really important to write down and keep track of your accomplishments. Naturally, whether you're a woman or a man, it's easy to question your capabilities. And day to day, with big or little steps and achievements, we forget them.
Right now, we're a team of 4. All of them are part-time. Everybody's working for equity. All our costs for over a year of operation, and with 2 MVPs being built, one mobile and one web app, it's been like $10,000 that we spent, including legal costs. It's all about connecting all the dots and make sure you've exhausted every resource before you say, we can't do that.
The US is missing out because there's so many brilliant people who would love to come to these shores, who are already living American values, who have big dreams, but it's not just dreams, it's also they're turning it into a reality. They have the grit, the determination, the ideas, the traction, the funding pathways.
So I would say, from my perspective, when you want to reach the first milestone of $1 million, it's not about the skill. Because the very first point is just to ensure that you focus on the right places. So I would say fall in love with the problem, not your product, not your feature. We all come in like, we have this innovation solution and it's AI-based. Nobody cares. People care about what's worries them and how we ensure that you really, really love solving the problem.
Map out business outcomes that your customer is expecting to achieve with your product and service, and then see if they're actually hitting those milestones. If you're not considering customer success as part of your early part of your journey as a founder, you're probably going to limit the amount of funding and growth that you're going to end up in. I think you should hire a CS leader once you get pretty close to that 1 mil mark, because what's going to happen is your customers and your product is going to be at a certain maturity level that you're going to need a strategy for your customer success organization.
And that's a wrap for season 2 of Off to the Valley. What an incredible year of conversations, connections, and courage. To every guest who shared their journey and to every listener who tuned in, thank you so much. You're the reason these stories matter. As we head into 2026, we are coming back with season 3, where we'll dive deep into the stories behind every founder's first $1 million in ARR, the chase, the chaos, and the clarity that come with building something real. If you've lived this journey as much as we have, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for what's next. Until then, enjoy the holidays, stay curious, and keep chasing the stories that move you. I'm Prateek Panda, and I'll see you soon in season 3 of Off to the Valley. Happy holidays.